Hello guys, and welcome to the series of shell scripting. In this video we are going to create a shell script to run the commands on remote servers. So let's begin. Before we start creating our shell script, there are few pre-configuration that we need to perform, in which first of all is the installation of OpenSSH server package on the remote targets. For example, suppose you are having 10 different targets servers, then each of the target server you need to install OpenSSH server. Okay, and in the system from where you are going to run the shell script, in that particular system we need to install the OpenSSH client package, right? So in the central or control node we need to install OpenSSH client, and in the target nodes we need to install OpenSSH server package. After that, if we want to log into the remote servers as their root user, then we need to modify the sshd config file in the target server, and we need to modify the line permit root login and set its value as yes. So if you have 10 different targets, and in each of those targets if you want to log in as its root user, then in each of the targets sshd config file we need to modify permit root login as yes. Okay, after that we need to create public and private key using the command ssh key gen. This command can be run from the host system and it will generate two keys. The first one will be public and another will be private. Okay, the default naming convention will be IDRSA for the private key and IDRSA.pub for public key. Now we need to place our private key in the .ssh directory of the user who is going to run the script. Okay, basically the user who is going to connect to the remote server, in the .ssh directory we need to place the private key, right? For example, suppose in the control node there are 5 users, user 1, user 2, user 3, like that, and I am going to run the script with the user 1. Then in the user 1's .ssh directory I need to place the private key. Okay, so any user who is going to run the shell script or is going to connect with the remote server, in the .ssh directory of that user we need to place that private key, right? And .ssh directory will present in its user home directory, right? So inside user home directory there will be another directory .ssh, and in that particular directory we need to place IDRSA file, that is the private key. Okay, after that the public key that we generated we need to place it into the multiple targets, right? For example, let's say there is a target 1 in which there are 4 users. Again, let's say Vikram 1, Vikram 2, Vikram 3 and Vikram 4, and I am going to log in as a Vikram 1 user in that particular target. So in this particular case, in the target users home directory and inside .ssh and inside authorized key, I need to copy paste the content of public key. Okay, similarly, suppose in the target server I am going to log in as the root, then inside the root user home directory inside .ssh I need to copy paste the content of the public key to the authorized keys file. In case if authorized keys file or .ssh directory is not present, then we can manually create it also, right? This step we need to do for all of the target servers, right? I had provided here 2-step process for that. For instance, in the first step I am going to use scp command for the copy of the IDRSA public file to a particular user, okay, in the remote system, and I am going to place the public key to the temp directory of the target. Okay, once I had placed it, I am going to log in to the remote server, and then I am going to copy the content of the public file to the authorized keys file. Okay, same thing if you are trying to log in to the target server as its root user, then you need to copy paste the content of this public key to the authorized keys present inside .ssh directory of the root user's home directory. Correct? Once we had done all these steps, then we need to restart our SSH service. Okay. Also, one more point to notice that we are only creating one pair of private and public key. We are storing the private key in the control node, and the same public key we are transferring to all of the target servers. It's not like that we are creating different pair of keys for different target. We are basically creating one pair of keys. The public key will be sent to all the target servers and private key will be in the control node, okay, from where we are going to run the shell script. Now all this pre-configuration we are doing because we want to allow our system to log in with the SSH key based authentication mechanism, by which we are not going to be prompted to write the password. the authentication will done automatically. Okay. Now all these pre-configurations I had already done in my system, and currently I have two different target nodes in which one has the IP of .4 at the end and another one has the IP of .12, right? And if I try to log in to the remote server as its root user, then it is not going to be prompt me for writing any password, and I am going to be logging to the remote server successfully. Okay. Similarly, if I try it for the .12 server, it is also going to allow me without any prompt. Now one thing to notice that when I am logging to the .4 server, it is not giving me any messages, but when I am logging to the .12 server, it is giving me bunch of messages. If you want to disable it, then simply create a file touch.hush login in the home directory of the user. Okay, so once we create it, and if I exit and again logging to this server, then you will see no messages is going to be given to us. So an empty .hush login file will eliminate all of the messages that we get when we log into the remote servers. Okay, now let's create our shell script. Now within our shell script, first of all we will define a variable as remote user. Okay, I'm going to log into the target server as the root user, so I'm going to assign it with the value of root, right? And then we will create a array variable with the name remote servers. Okay, and I'm going to assign it with the value of the remote IPs. So the first one is 192.168.1.4 and another one has the IP of 192.168.1.12. Okay, so basically we are going to loop through these two servers. After that we'll write for target in then $rem servers. Okay, and I will also provide here @ and quotes, and within this loop we will be writing the ssh command. So I'm going to write here ssh, then the name of the user, so the username is rem_user, and then to log in we use here @ and then we need to write the IP. So IP is going to be stored in the target variable. So in each iteration the username will remain the same, so we are logging to the remote server as a root user while the IP will keep on changing, right? After that we are going to use the here document, and I will define the limit string as end, right? And between these two we are going to write our command. For instance, first command will be, let's say, ls, then another command, let's say, will be ifconfig. Okay, so these two commands are going to be run on the remote servers, and before running the commands on the remote server I am simply going to print a message that is talking to $target. Okay, then 3-4 dots. Also while using the ssh I'm going to disable thus giving us the pseudo terminals, okay, using the -t option. Now I will soon explain you the meaning of this -T option, but for now let's save our shell script and execute it. So I'm going to write here ./remote, and now you will see that first of all it is giving us the output as talking to .4 server, which is our first target server, and then it is giving us the output of the ls command. Okay, so the first command that we ran in the remote server is ls. So currently in the .4 server, if you see the output, it is my files and snap, right? And after that it is giving us the output of ifconfig command. So currently we are able to see the output of the ifconfig command when run on the .4 server. Similarly, in the second iteration it is giving us our echo message that talking to 192.168.1.12, that is the second target, and then it is giving us first the output of the ls command. So in this particular server, if we do the ls, then it is going to give us file1, file2 and snap, and the same output we are able to view here also. And similarly we are able to run the ifconfig command also for this particular target, right? Now instead of ifconfig we can run other commands also, like let's say first I am going to run the pwd, then I am going to create a file with the name message. Okay, so wherever it is currently residing, which is by default the home directory, when logging through ssh it is going to create a message file in its home directory. Okay, and after that we are going to write here echo $who am I, then to escape $who am I. right? And I'm going to write the output of this command to the message file. Okay, so let's save it. So in this particular case, what is going to happen? First, it is going to give us the output of the ls command. Then it will give me the output of the pwd command for each target server. Then it will create a message file, and then in the message file it is going to write the output of this. Okay, so what will be the output of this particular command is going to be evaluated locally. So currently I'm logging here as wiki, so this will get replaced with the wiki. And since we are escaping here in this particular case, so locally no operation will take place here, but in the remote server the execution of this command will take place. So this is going to be replaced with the root, since currently I am going to log in as the root user. Okay, so when you want to perform the command substitutions on the remote server, then you can simply escape it. So let's save it and again execute our shell script. But before that, currently if we see in our target server, there is no message file. Okay, and currently I am also inside the home directory of the root. Okay, so let's execute it. It is creating the file, and now if we see here, a message file has been created, and if we view the content of this file, it is saying wiki to root. Okay, similarly in the .12 server also a message file has been created, and if we view the content of this file, it states wiki to root. Now let's see the significance of the -T option when we are using the here document, and let's try to understand it with some examples. Okay, so by default when we try to log in to the remote server with any user, then it provides us a pseudo terminal to run the various commands. Okay, so here we are given with the pseudo terminal, right? And in this particular terminal I can run various commands like ls, or the commands that requires its own terminal or its own window. For example, commands like top, okay, which needs its own window to run. Now let me quit it with the queue. So by default when we log into remote server using SSH, a default sudo terminal is given to us. But if we run the command on the SSH command line, for instance, here we can give the command also. In that particular case, we will not be given any sudo terminal. And in this particular case, commands like top or nano that needs its own terminal or its own window to run, this command cannot be run. So in this particular case, what we generally do, we force the SSH to give us a pseudo terminal so that I can be able to run this command. Okay, so if I press enter, you will see now I am able to run this command. The opposite of it is the -T, which explicitly states that we don't need the pseudo terminal. Okay, so in this particular case, this command is not going to be run successfully. Now whenever we use the here document with the SSH, then either we write here -t or uppercase T, we are not going to be given with any pseudo terminal. Okay, for instance, if I write here top and save it and again execute our shell script, you will see that no such terminal will be given to us and I will not be able to run this command. Okay, apart from this, I am getting a warning message that pseudo terminal will not be given to us. Okay, so to eliminate this message, I can provide here option as -T. In this particular case, this message, that is pseudo terminal, will not be allocated to us. This message will not be given to us, right? Only this message is coming due to the usage of top command, right? So when you are using the here document, you will not be able to use the commands like top or nano directly. If you still want to run that, then in that particular case, instead of using here document, you can simply write the top option with that -t option. Okay, so in this particular case, this command is going to be run successfully. So currently this command is being run for the .4 server, and since it is running in the window, to move further to the next target, I need to first quit this process, that is the top. Okay, so I'm going to press here Q, and as soon as I will press the Q, the top command is going to be run for the .12 server. Okay, so while you are using the top or nano command, you also need to quit these processes, okay, or these commands. Only then it will go to the next target. So most of the time when we run the commands on the remote server, we generally ignore the commands that needs its own window like top or nano, so that all the commands can perform its operation without the manual intervention. Now the shell script to run the commands on the remote server is very important. With this you can do various tasks. For example, suppose you want to take the backup of 100 of servers. One way will be for you is to go to each of the servers and take the backup, or what you can do, you can simply create a simple shell script that is going to communicate with all of the servers and take the necessary backups. Similarly, if you want to find the CPU or memory utilization of all the target server, then instead of going to the target server one by one, you can simply create a shell script, run the shell script, and all the information will be given to you within a central node or within the control node. Okay, within many organizations these practices are used a lot. Okay, so that's all for today guys. I hope you like the video. If you have any doubt, please comment it down. Thanks for watching and I hope to see you in the next video.